Do you find that no matter how much you accomplish or achieve in your life, it feels like there's something underneath that your accomplishments just have not touched? Uh, Not always, but you reach this goal, you hit this achievement, you hit this financial milestone, or maybe it's a career advancement, or maybe you're an artist and you land something really important and it doesn't quite fill you up the way that you thought it would. It just really doesn't satisfy you. And you find that when it does satisfy you, it's very short lived. You feel good for a little bit. And then at 3 a.m., you're waking up and you're thinking to yourself, what next? What's next? Now that I've done this, what is next? This is not dissatisfaction with your life. And it's not a scenario where you're like, oh, I'm just, why bother? It's not even that you're unhappy. It's more like there's this hunger inside of you. And the frustrating part of it is you keep trying to feed it with more of what's already worked, more goals, more accomplishments, achieving more, taking more trips, more vacations. And you've made the right choices in the past, but this just isn't touching it anymore. And it's not a lack of gratitude or a sign that there's even something wrong. It's actually a sign that there's something in your life that is very right. Here's what most people do when they feel this. I'm going to call it a letdown, but it's really not a letdown. Most people land on one of two conclusions. They think, I just haven't done enough yet. So keep going, bigger goals, raise the ceiling, or they decide they should just be more grateful for what they have and stop making it so complicated. And those are the two options. They think it's an either or, and neither one is right. Now, I'm not saying don't live up to your fullest potential, because that's what we're here to do. But I'm sure you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? He spent his whole career studying what humans actually need to thrive. And you probably know the pyramid, the safety, the belonging, the esteem, the self-actualization at the top. Well, self-actualization is recognizing our full potential. That's going out and doing what we fully have the capability and ability to do in this life. It's who you're capable of being. What most people don't know is that Maslow actually identified a level above self-actualization. He called it self-transcendence, and almost nobody talks about it. And I'm going to break it down for you in plain terms. So if you don't know me, my name's Penny. I'm a board certified hypnotist, but I spent 25 years in healthcare, 15 of that as a credentialed nurse anesthetist. And I walked away from all of it when I started stepping into my full potential as a hypnotist. And then I went down a deep spiritual path, not the woo woo new agey, but that inner work. And that self transcendence is the next piece. It's about what's out there that's bigger than you, because this is a level of our human experience that goes beyond personal achievement. It's beyond your goals, beyond your growth, your income, and your impact scorecard. God, when we're in certain careers, we love our metrics and we get obsessed with the metrics and we use that as a sign of doing better. But the place that you're reaching for when you reach this point is no longer about you. It's about something that you are a part of, something that is moving through you, not just something that you're building for yourself. Now, a lot of really high earners talk about this, not in a spiritual way, but in a practical, left brain, real way. It's that space where a different quality comes into the work. The work comes from service. The work does not come from chasing or fear. Their decisions feel differently. There's just an embodied certainty about them because they've drop the fears. And some of you are going to say, well, when you have money, it's easy to drop the fears. And yes and no. If we just simply get past the survival level of financial means, once you move past the survival level of financial means, this is open to you. It's up to each individual as to whether or not they do the work to release the fears, the stories, and the beliefs around money. But in high earners, because they fully know they're capable of turning things around, of meeting challenges and obstacles, in that they can generate that income, there comes in this entirely different energy. And that hunger you're feeling, it's not telling you to do more. It's your system telling you that you've grown to the edge of what personal achievement can offer to you. And it's asking you to go deeper, deeper than just knowing that you're being of service, because the hunger can't be fed by more of what fed you before. So you can grow the business bigger and bigger, and you can be more and more of service, and you can be the philanthropist, and you can send your money in a million different directions. But it's more than that. There's something that is deep inside of you that wants your attention. It's underneath your ambition. Your subconscious builds your identity around, in your early years, who you needed to be to meet those basic Maslow's needs. And over the years, you've expanded that identity of who you're becoming. And for most high performers, identity is organized around achieving, delivering, proving, meeting goals, having discipline. And it's not a flaw. That's exactly what got you here. Discipline is something that is recognized in all spiritual practices. If you want to go deeper spiritually, you have to have the discipline to overcome the ego in the mind. It's more than discipline about achievement. It's about living at the level of your being. And I don't mean your physical body, I mean your full energetic potential. It's about living from your truth at a level of authenticity that when you tap into that authenticity, you feel completely unbridled in what it is that you can do. It's no longer about metrics. They're still important. You're not going to abandon them. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here. But this hunger that you feel is the distance between who you are in terms of your identity in this life and the full authenticity that you can step into. And believe me, when you truly know who you are, when you truly understand how powerful you are, and you dismantle the bits of your identity that are holding you back from expressing your full authenticity, the world just shifts in a way that can't be explained. When I was in anesthesia, I genuinely loved what I did. I loved nursing. I loved the ICU. I loved the precision and the art form of anesthesia. It was high stakes. It required skill. It required relying on your intuition and sensing small changes and being proactive rather than reactive. You had to be completely present with every single patient. There was no room for distractions when you're managing someone's life in an operating room. I was damn good at it. I built a career around it, but there was still this thing, this pull. I remember in 2011, 2012, before I even took my hypnosis certification in 2013, I would tell my friend Lorraine, I'm like, I've got to get out of here. I have to get out of here. And I couldn't explain it. There was nothing wrong with what I was doing. I was making really good money. And I just kept on, I have to get out of here. I don't know what it is. I have to get out of here. And I ignored it for a few years. But when I trained in hypnosis, I had a moment in that hypnosis training that changed everything. And I was like, oh my God, we are so powerful. We are so powerful. And I left that hypnosis training certified and told my husband, I'm going to be starting a hypnosis practice. He thought I was absolutely crazy, but I did it alongside my anesthesia career. And then we moved halfway across country and I put my hypnosis business on hold. I closed it for a period of time and I just was all in on anesthesia again, and the friction was still there. And in 2017, my mental and emotional health reached a crisis point, and it was an intersection of several things. But one of the things is I was living in misalignment with my values, and I was living in misalignment with my authenticity. I had experienced something that I touched something, and I still didn't have words for it yet at that time. And it was literally just, it was soul sucking. It was crushing me. And I've talked about this before. That crisis point was terrifying. And hypnosis was what pulled me out of it. Therapy failed, meds failed. I was barely hanging on to sanity. When I told my therapist, I said, I want to reach out to my mentor who is ABD, his PhD in psychotherapy, and I want him to help me through this because I know he knows how to do it. And in less than 10 days, all of the static was wiped out of my life. Now, there takes maintaining after doing that. Like you have to learn skills on how to not get back in that situation. But the crisis wasn't caused by my career, it was somewhere in this deeper place where I had experienced and then I had known for a long time I was not living, doing what I was put on this earth to do. And I was giving myself all the reasons in the world to not reopen that hypnosis practice here in the state of Mississippi. And I had gotten very good at deflecting that. Sometimes it's hard to make these decisions, and I'm not suggesting you go out and abandon your career. But what I'm saying is, when I finally left anesthesia, I still had a little bit left on my student loans. People called me crazy. You're walking away from a guaranteed income into a business that was less than a year old. The quality of everything in my life had changed when I walked away in 2019. And people just didn't understand it. That restlessness that I had been feeling for those years, that there's got to be something more that I was chasing. And I remember my husband used to tell me, as I went through degrees and that kind of thing, he's like, why aren't you ever satisfied? Like, you get to a place and you can't just be content and happy there. But in this business in hypnosis, I have been here for 7 years and I'm content and I'm happy and I'm fulfilled, and has led me on a journey of self transcendence. And I know there's so much more for me, but I'm not chasing something different. I am expanding my awareness of who I am. And I'm tapping into that and I'm bringing that into the work that I do. So for some people, you hit this point of self transcendence where you've tapped into this authenticity, and the authenticity comes in and it channels through what you're already doing. I was not meant to channel authenticity through anesthesia. I channel it through this work with helping people to rediscover themselves. And whether I'm helping somebody who's dealing with ruminations or I'm working with somebody who goes, I'm 99% of the way to where I want to be. And I feel like there's this little film. I just need to pop through it like a balloon. I just need to pop through it and I'm there. It expands me to do that work. And it expands people's lives wherever they are when I meet them. It does that. So when this shifts for you, when you stop trying to feed this hunger with more achievement and you start actually following what it's pointing to in your life, something changes in how everything feels. And it's not immediately, it's not a lightning bolt. You can have lightning bolt moments, but you have to have the discipline and the practice to live from that authenticity. And so you start making decisions from a different place. There's less calculation, there's less performing for an invisible audience, there's less asking, is this enough? Because the energy in what you're doing changes, and the people around you feel it before they can put words to what's different for you. And this is what I mean when I talk about identity work being frequency work. Who you're being at an identity level creates a field. And when that identity is finally aligned, not with the version of you that learned how to achieve, but with who you are underneath all of that, what you're creating changes. The hunger gets fed, and for the first time, by the right thing. And from that place, the achieving doesn't stop, it just stops costing you. So before I go, I want to leave you with one question. Not what you want to achieve next, not does that goal need to be bigger. What is the hunger pointing you towards that your current identity hasn't yet made room for? Sit with that, not as a problem to solve, but as information to follow. Your feelings are your compass. So if you're at a point where you know insight isn't what's missing, you have this feeling, you see the pattern, but there's no obvious problem underneath the surface. I'm going to leave the details below for Catalyst Recalibrated. So if this landed for you, please subscribe to the channel, like this video. There are going to be more videos coming around things that allow high performers to step into full self-actualization and self-transcendence, because this is what it's about: recognizing, stepping into, and being your full authenticity. Most people have never heard of it, but now you have.